Okay, this is our first review podcast over all of our Unit Zero stuff. So that's basically hunting and gathering and agriculture and river valleys and classical civilizations and religions. So this is just to kind of help you prepare for your test. It's not a substitute for doing the review or having watched all your crash course videos, but it's just kind of to help go over everything. Okay, so Neolithic Revolution. Realized that about 10,000 years ago, that's when you had agriculture. It all pops up at different times throughout the world in different places. It's not like happening simultaneously. So you have people deciding that they don't want to spend all their time hunting and gathering. And throughout several hundreds of thousands of years, they've developed agriculture. You still had people who were pastoralists, but our agriculture is going to lead to river valleys, patriarchy, specialization of labor, social classes. We have a more stable food supply, which is going to increase the population. So, as far as events in history goes, this is one of the big things that we look at. So, don't forget, pastoralists are following their goats and sheep. They are not hunting and gathering for their own reasons, but they have to take their animals to go find food. All right, so the Neolithic Revolution is going to transform societies. Like I said, you get technology, you get all of these complex social and economic systems. It's going to lead to trade. It's going to basically lead to what we see as civilizations. And so that's going to lead to our river valley civilizations, and that's what's going to lead to our empires. Keep in mind that all of these people ended up settling near some kind of body of water, be it on the coast or along a major river. They needed the water so that they could drink for their animals. They needed it for irrigation for their crops. And so that's why we refer to all of these early civilizations collectively as our river valley civilizations. And the rivers kind of dictated their life. So how they grew their crops, when they grew them, what they grew them, that all depended on the rivers. Like the Nile floods regularly, so that influenced crops. Their life was a little bit more stable. But on contrast, if you look over here in Mesopotamia, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers kind of flood unpredictably. They didn't have like the regular pattern that the Nile did. So things were a little bit more erratic. Their life was a little bit more complicated and not as structured. And so that's also going to be kind of reflected in their art and literature. So everything for early people in these river valley civilizations was literally tied to the river. Okay, these are our core early river valleys. The ones y'all really need to focus on are Mesopotamia, Egypt, Harappa, and Mohenjo-Daro, which were basically just two cities, but they're over here in India, and then the Shang in China. All right, so stuff to know about Mesopotamia. They were culturally unified. They're pretty much organized into like city-states and stuff, but they do have a theocracy. Their writing is cuneiform. They're known for like the Code of Hammurabi, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the picture, which is here, which is their big monumental architecture, which is the ziggurat. Egypt's also going to have monumental architecture in the form of pyramids. And the reason I'm highlighting monumental architecture, this is not going to go away for the entire year. Monumental architecture is ridiculously important when we're looking at how rulers are able to mobilize the people in their empires and their resources and everything to get these large structures built. And so that kind of is a reflection on the stability of the empire, its economic and political stability, how well the ruler was able to organize things. So it's very reflective of a society. Don't forget, Egypt is known as the gift of the Nile because the Nile is important for them, like everything dependent upon that. And they're known for their writing, which is hieroglyphics. Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro, which are in India. Remember, these are the two cities that are known for their advanced planning with the great baths and the natural air condition and the perfectly aligned streets and the sewers and the indoor plumbing. So that's things to associate with them in India. In China, realize that you start to see social stratification and patriarchy start off early. You have divination with oracle bones. You have ancestor veneration, and the end got cut off there, but that's mandate of heaven, which that's the whole concept that The ruler should stay in charge so long as they're doing a good job. However, if they start to make bad decisions, or if they're not doing a good job and they're not just in all of their dealings, then they can get overthrown. So that's kind of what they're using to justify the rule of their person. So again, just some kind of cultural stuff. Like I said, we hit on architecture. You have art record keeping, which is all your different writing styles. We have legal codes with Hammurabi and early religious beliefs. So the Vedic scriptures morph into what becomes Hinduism. Hebrew monotheism is what becomes Judaism. And then you have Zoroastrianism, which was the religion of the Persians. So, like I said, be able to associate Vedic with Hinduism and Hebrew ethnic monotheism with Judaism. Same thing, we're just using different words. We'll get to the Phoenicians later with the Phoenician triangle. But then you also, like I said, Code of Hammurabi, important legal code. Like I said, you do have trade. Trade is important. Everybody is trading with everybody. You have like the Bantu people in Africa that are migrating and trading. Egypt's trading with Nubia to the south. Egypt and Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia and the Indus River Valley. China's trading with India. So trade is ridiculously important, and we're going to keep coming back to trade. So I'm going to pause here, and then I'm going to do a second half of the video on the classical empires.